Right, apparently I'm live. But I'm not sure how loud the microphone is. Is this working? Is there anybody there? Hello? Ah, I messed up the other live stream. So there's two people here apparently. So if you're in the other live stream, I apologize. I'm trying to get back to that one so I can link you to this one. Let's see. Right, there we go. Um, can you hear me, by the way? I'm very conscious about this microphone. So, uh, thank you, Adrian. Yes. Am I loud and clear, or do I need to back off the volume a bit? So, and how are you doing? How are your Sundays? Good, good. Awesome, awesome. It's good to see you all. And thank you for joining. Um, I got a good question here straight away from Hunter Milner. He asked my thoughts on the new Tiny Moving Parts song, Medicine. I literally just watched the music video before I started this live stream. I should have been trying to work out this live stream if I'm honest, but I got enticed into that. And yeah, it's excellent song and really creative music video. But yeah, I'm one I can't really stand blades so much. So seeing somebody even though it's pretend, getting cut open and pulling out all of these instruments. Yeah, maybe a part of me was like, oh, it's quite hard to watch, but good video, and I love everything they put out. So, and it's a bit more popular than the other stuff. And some of the comments made me laugh. It was like when it, where's the tapping? And then like 2 minutes in, it's like, oh, there it is. So, yeah, awesome, everyone. A lot of people here. So yeah, let me know. How are you? And fire the questions away. I'll try my best to answer as many as I can. Of course. Yeah, it's been a while since I did my last live stream. Was last year. It's like maybe September. I can't remember exactly. So got a few more people. So I see a few familiar faces. So that's lovely to see. And it's if you didn't know, I'm in South Korea, and it's 10 o'clock at night, and I got myself a beer. And I got to go to work tomorrow, so I'm just having one. But I got a chaotic double IPA from the States, and tastes great, but it's 9.7%. So kind of sounds like Adrian says it's kind of sounds like Blink 182. Yeah, I guess it does. Yeah, with different tunings. I guess it's in a different tuning. I've not checked, so No Cab Official asks, how am I? Hey, I'm doing good. Very nice. Feeling great. It's a good way to end the weekend doing this kind of thing. Senor asks, when am I going to do a collab with Sleepy Dog? I've not actually reached out like personally to him, but I've tagged him in Instagram videos and comment on his YouTube stuff, but he doesn't really get back to me. So I guess it's quite busy. But that's if I really want to do it, I should reach out and try and do something with him. But he seems so busy, making his own music all the time. But it would be good fun. I've written down a few things before we get into it a bit more, but I was copying other live streams that I watch, and I have a discount code on my merchandise. That's down in the description there, and it's literally live streams, all one word, and you just enter that at the checkout. So all of those things go to support the channel and the work that I do. This is one of the T-shirts that you can get, and I guess you've seen tons of others as well that are on in various videos. And if you're in the States, you see the merch shelf underneath. So, yeah. Felix Seafeld, sorry. It's a good question here. It's, hi Steve, do you recommend a set of strings for the kind of math rock tunings you do, or do you buy multiple sets? I had this question. I can't remember where exactly, but I did reply. Usually, what I say is, I'll if I'm just using the guitar I don't care about so much. I'll if it's Sorry, let me start that again. So if the tuning is just a small jump, so let's say you're playing in FACGCE tuning, so from standard you're changing E up to F, so it's just going up half a step, and then the D string's coming down to D, and it's coming down two steps, so a tone, and then the B string's only going up a step to C, tuning upright, and the rest of the strings stay the same. So in those kind of cases, you don't really have to change from like a standard set. Like I use 9 gauge, so I just keep nines on there, and if I'm going to keep the guitar in there in that tuning, like I bought that Telecaster recently. I've been meaning to actually, like I'll probably buy, if I'm tuning the string up, I'll use a thinner gauge there. If it's quite a big jump, but it's not really there. And if I'm tuning down, obviously you do the opposite, so use a thicker gauge of strings for that one. And if it's obviously the bigger the jump, then yeah, you probably want to mess around with different gauges for that. If you're just playing your main instrument and you're tuning it, it just for like you're just keeping it there for a short period of time, then I'd say just keep the whatever gauge whatever gauge you're using. It'll be that 9, 10s or 11s or whatever, but it won't really damage the guitar. And if you're happy and you're coming up with stuff in that tuning, then perhaps then think about should I really really take the time to buy all the individual strings to put on the guitar. So that would be my advice and my opinion for that. So perhaps you have other ways of doing that thing. So um, right, chat's jumping a bit, so let me go back. Um, I think I need to get rid of David Wise. Not sure if I can block him though. This is where I need some moderators to help me do this kind of thing. When I click it, I get report remove, put user in a time what? Oh well, I don't care. Teen Crisis Music asks, is Maps and Atlas still a math rock band? I started listening to Maps and Atlases back in about 2007, and a good friend of mine, we were going to band practice, I do believe, and he put what was at the time, You and Me and the Mountain on the EP, and yeah, that's such a good record. So I fell in love with them then, and then I discovered Trees, was it Trees, Houses, Swallows, the album before, and that one's good, especially like Every Place is a House. That's very definitely very mathy and very clean style of math rock as well, actually. So I really like that one. And then afterwards, it became, what was it? Forget the one with the artwork cover. That one was very like kind of like Beatles meets the math rock, and that was a really good fun, really good album too. Actually, I really like that one. And then haven't really listened to much afterwards, but I heard a live video they did recently, and yeah, it's very different now to what it used to be. So, John Marker, hey Steve, signature guitar. I don't think I'll ever get one. Maybe one day that would be lovely. And I like Marcus Mina from Standards. He got one with what was it, White Whale guitar. Like that one looks really cool. It's obviously his guitar because it's got various fruit inlays on it. So yeah, yeah, that's really cool. But I'm not at that level, so yeah, I doubt it. I'd love my own signature guitar, but that probably won't happen. um, what was I going to say again? I read here, Pickle label. It said, how long will the stream be? And it says there's no sound at the moment, but everyone else is saying there's sound. I should really check this, sorry, instead of watching tiny moving parts before I started. But yeah, I'm going to be on for about an hour, so let's see how it goes. So, no cap says you saw me play Ted Zanka the by bloody um, maps and atlases. Sorry, but it says there's no tabs. There are tabs online though. If you search on like Ultimate Guitar or something like that. The thing what I do is if I learn something from another tab and I play it on my channel, then I don't use that tab and say it's my own work. You see, so I tend to just leave a link to that tab instead. But if I do tab it out myself, then I will include that on my web page. But yeah, I should really include the link for that one, so where you can go and find it. Stop talking about David Bowie. Um, Sugu Suguai Gusa. I believe that's how you say your name. I apologize. I'm not very good at this kind of thing, but yes. Any tips on recording gear for home recordings? I'm quite amateur at that kind of thing. I have like alluded quite a few times on my channel, and I did a video recently on my setup, how I do it. But all you need at first is just get yourself, a way of recording. So get yourself an interface. Behringer do a very cheap one, and it's very decent quality. I use the Behringer 404 HD, which has four inputs, but they do ones with two, which are like about $30 or something like that, really cheap. And you can get yourself like this kind of mic here. This is just a cheap dynamic I got, and whack that up to a cab, and you can use there's a really good free recording software. It's called Reaper. My friend keeps hammering at me to get it because it's apparently really really good, and I have checked it out. And yeah, that one, you can use VST plugins and all these kind of things. So if you're looking for really good software that you don't have to pay for, then check out Reaper. So it's Reaper. And yeah, so you got that kind of thing, and then you just got to record, and you got to mess around, getting the right volumes. Making sure you got like, you're not clipping when you record as well. That's quite important. But I like to use just digital recording because I can't play loud where I'm living at the moment. As you can see with my setup in those videos, I'm just using the Yamaha as a digital modeling amplifier, and I'm just recording for the DIR on that, and then I'm using speaker emulation software. Everyone calls it what's it called, IR software. Just loading different cab sounds, and then basically using a Fender sound with I think it's a vintage 30 speaker, some simulation from Celestian's website, and it's their free package. But I should stop being cheap and actually invest in getting one that actually they spent the time and making it sound good. So that would be some recommendations. If anybody has any more, chime in on the conversation. Let's help each other out. So, all right, back to the chat. Let's check what we got. Seno F asks, "How is my Korean? And does everyone speak English?" You can get by in Korea just speaking English for sure. But if you just speak a little bit of Korean, people are very happy and very welcoming. Yeah. So I'm not as good as I should be because I've been here since 2012. So, but yeah, that's just my, like the people I work with, like my co-teachers and stuff. They speak English to me, and they they want to use all their time to practice English with me, so I can't really get a word in if I want to practice Korean. So that doesn't help. So uh, Alan asks, "Is it this a wig?" No, it's just my terrible haircut. You know, I really need to get a haircut, and I've been wearing headphones all most of the day as well, so that doesn't help. Hey, Anus Repairman is in the house. How's it going? Yeah, you should. He's everywhere, and he's a cool dude. You know, just on everything math rock related, you'll see Anus Repairman in the comment section. All right. Moore says I've been playing in DAEA C sharp E with a capo. I've tuned back to standard, and the tension feels weird. Yeah, so um, yeah, perhaps there you could start messing with the string tensions then, if that's the case. Yeah. For me, I play in standard most of the time just because in my background, I studied, uh, like I said, I started playing guitar when I was 14, and I, did music a little bit at middle school, and then I went to college, which is a high school equivalent for America, and I did music there, and then I went to university in 3 years of music, and I just played in standard the whole time, basically playing like pop songs, jazz songs, rock songs, these kind of things. And I never really experimented with different tunings until like my third year of university, and it was just for like little acoustic songs and stuff like that. And nowadays, I'm really much more interested in it. Hence, I bought that Squire Affinity Telecaster to mess around with those kind of things. So I'm having so much fun with that. But what I was going to say in standard tuning, I know where arpeggios are, where scales are, where chords are, and stuff like that. But when I'm playing in a different tuning, suddenly that knowledge is all gone, and I'm relying on my ear to guide what I'm doing, which is a really good ear training exercise, if I'm honest. So there's ever such good fun. Teen Crisis Music says Kinsellas are the first family of math rock, apart from almost nearly every band out of Chicago. Yeah. Yeah, I think it's what's the channel name? Noisy. They have a documentary on Tim Kinsella. It's like an hour long, and it's really fascinating. I've watched it 3 or 4 times, but it just gives you a really good insight into that time and how all that Captain Jazz and how Joan of Arc and American football came to be and all that. It's really, if you haven't checked it out already, I really recommend going that. Oh, that's one thing I was going to say as well is I will index this live stream after it's finished, so those who are watching it later can just jump to parts they like, and they can see what topics we end up talking about. So Paul Johnson, a friend of mine, he says "annyeong," which is a Korean for hello. So how you doing, Paul? All right, let's go back up a bit more. Moog asks, it's a good question here. How do you go about working out songs by ear? Um, for this, if especially if I'm using a part of a song or an entire song um, for this channel, how I usually do it is like, for example, I did a couple of videos like how to play like a certain artist, and um, when I did this town needs guns, actually I had the tab book, so I just used that, so I didn't have to work out the songs. But when I did it, Yvette Young, I did her first, the Currents, the first album, and I worked two of the songs out by ear, and I tabbed them both out as well. And they're on the in the links to that video, and also over on my website if you're interested in learning them. And that was the song Pelagic, and what was the other one? I can't remember it exactly off the top of my head. Sorry, but with that, I just watched videos of her playing it online, and I slowed it down, and worked out what the tuning was, and yeah, that's how I did it. I just literally did it like bar by bar for most of it. It's quite technical stuff. And if you slow it down enough, you can see where the fingers are, and you start to hear obviously where the melody is going. And I just tab it out on Guitar Pro. And if you haven't seen Guitar Pro tablature software before? I recommend buying it. It's $70, so it's quite a lot, but they do a 20% discount every so often. So if you sign up to their mailing list, they will email you when it's on promotion, and grab that, because that one you don't even if you can't write music into it yourself, at least you can download Guitar Pro files from like Ultimate Guitar. And with that, you can highlight a bar, you can loop it, and you can slow it down as slow as you need it. And then you can just, work that bar, then add the next bar, then add the next bar. Then you've got that section down, right, at 50% speed, 75%, and then eventually at 100% speed. So it's a really useful practice tool. And if you want to get into composing as well, you can start to. That's how I do all of my tabs that you see. Is I just write them into that software. All right. uh, Bloody Bru Bruenia Izat. If I'm saying that right, Izat. It says, do I play authentic? I well, unfortunately, I don't. And also, I had to tape over the logo on my headstock of my Gibson, so I wouldn't get in a lawsuit. So I was just joking. Yeah, kind of. I had the Gibson SG, and it was a really nice guitar, really well built. But when my problem is when I find out, companies like crappy like that, doing things like that, I can't like enjoy or like be part of what their legacy or whatever when I play the instrument. And I get a similar thing with PRS because I don't particularly find Paul Reed Smith himself an enjoyable person. So I can't really enjoy that. So with Fender, I just don't watch anything to do with Fender's company, so I can avoid any of that. Yeah, that's a great question. No Cab official says, "Do I know the Reptilian?" No, I don't know that band. If that it is an artist or a group or whatever. So, um, you know what I do with this kind of thing? I write them down because I have found some awesome music from recommendations this way. It's gonna take a drink. Ah, all right. DIMK says thank you for your videos. You're welcome, and thanks for watching and being part of this. So, Murphy Radio, Gabriel Portera Portera Putra. I'm sorry, guys. Yeah, I do know Murphy Radio. Yeah, they're good. Any recommendations for math rock bands similar to Covet? If you've not heard This Town Needs Guns, TTNG, check them out. Quite a similar thing. Um, what other bands as well would I recommend? I guess you guys can throw some in there. Yeah, Chris says try Ghosts and Vodka. Yeah, yeah. All right. Born Hero asks, have you ever thought about teaching songwriting techniques in a digital audio workstation? What do you mean by that? Sorry. Yeah, please elaborate a bit more. And he says, also, I appreciate you a lot for what you are doing. It's helping me follow a direction I've wanted to take with my music for a while. Well, that's awesome. That's why I do this kind of thing. And been taking the time to learn how to do it better and be, more confident and these kind of things. And research what I'm teaching to make sure it's as correct as, as possible to my knowledge. So I'm not teaching you obviously things that are incorrect and are going to be uh, detrimental. Is that the word I'm looking for? Yeah, hinder you in some kind of way or giving you the wrong information. So yeah, Tux guitar. Chris Silver, doesn't Tux guitar read guitar profiles too? No, that's free. I've never heard of that before. So please check that out. Yeah, that's if that's it works that way. Teen Crisis music, giraffes or giraffes? Giraffes or giraffes? I like giraffes. Yeah, my favorite is their first one. Was it Super Bass with a million exclamation marks? The songs I forget. It's got such a wacky title, but that that one, what I like about that the most is because I've had so much time, jamming with friends and stuff in the past, where it's just myself and another drummer, and just it's got that vibe, that kind of practice room kind of sound to it, right? Where you just working out ideas and hashing things out, and then you've practiced all day, and it's all right, we're going to record it now, and then you get that kind of sound of recording, and that's what really entices me to that particular particular record of theirs. Small town music PH. Has any news on Terra Melos? I've not really been too much up to date with them. I remember they did a tour last, but the bass player couldn't make it. But he lives in Norway, I do believe. So I guess that's a good reason. So I don't think he joined the tour, and I'm not sure what they're doing from now on. But maybe someone that's here has more information on that than I do. So like similar situation with my band Mountains. Myself and Ali, the bass player, you've probably seen Ali on the channel a few times. We both live in Korea. I live in Ulsan and he lives in Busan, which is slightly south. But the drummer, he recently moved to Da Nang in Vietnam. So now we're gonna do a tour in Japan at the end of August and the start of September. So we've got like three nights, and we've got I think so far we got some shows sorted on Saturday, and we're going to be playing with the band, Lockto, if you've heard of them. I think it was Lockto. Yeah, that's what Ali told me. So, so one of those shows is going to be one of the in Japan they have practice room shows where they um, everybody goes to the rehearsal room, and then the instruments all kind of face each other. So the guitar amps, so like the drummers here, one guitar amp here and another. So all four of you face each other if there's four of you in the band, and then everyone else stands around you, and it's such a awesome experience. Yeah, we did that last time we played in Japan. When was that? 2014 or 15? I can't remember, but that was such an awesome experience. We played with that practice room show was with Nengu, Lokto, and Pens Plus, which is I want to play with them again, but they're really hard to get a hold of. So fingers crossed we can. So. Paul Johnson. It seems to me that body shape should be copyrighted. You told me your was it Yamaha Les Paul you got? That one was they lost the lawsuit on that one, right? A long time ago. Gibson. I mean Yamaha did to Gibson. Teen Crisis Music says check out Eula Foramina Mania by Pointless. What's that? Aesthetics. Yeah. Okay. From Ottawa in Canada. All right. That's another band I will add down. Thanks. Okay. Age Leanne says increase the mic volume. Yeah, I can do that. No problem. But please let me know if this is now way too loud. So I'm always conscious about killing everybody's ears. So there you go. Maybe that's better now. I've been talking for half an hour at a quiet volume, I guess. So. Yeah, small town music PH, yeah, Forest on a indefinite hiatus. Yeah, I was sad to hear that. I talked to the guitarist. I don't actually know his name, which is quite bad on Instagram quite a bit. And yeah, he's going to Australia to study for a while. So, but they just did a tour in Japan. They look really good fun. And they played in China actually before that, so it's kind of like an Asia tour. Sorry, and I was hoping they'd come to Korea, but they didn't. But yeah, so now I'm never going to see Forest. So I'm very I'm very sad about that, I should say. But they're really fun band. They're full of humor, which I like. So. Random loser says, "Are you going to see snowing in Japan?" I am not. Nope, but that would be good. Oh, so Born Here says, "My bad. It would be cool to see what you do in a door creating a whole song." Okay. Usually, I can do a video on that, but the sounds that you hear my guitar on the channel, like if it's just a regular video, all I'm doing is you're just hearing the direct sound. I'm not doing any post processing at all afterwards. But I was gonna say again. Um, but like if I'm doing more of a fancy kind of video, then perhaps I will do some kind of post processing after that. But all I'll do is I have the guitar, the voice. Sorry, that you hear on my videos is I use my Galaxy S9 phone to record the videos, and the sound you hear from this is this. It's actually pretty decent. And recently, I got all this acoustic foam to try and contain the echo on my voice, so it sounds a bit better on my videos. But if I'm adding a drum track, I just use like a VST, virtual instrument, sorry, I should say, and that one has the ability to like place the beats, and I'll just do that, and it sounds decent enough just to show examples, but I wouldn't really use it to write a song that I would release something with. If my plan is, if I do actually do some music with the stuff that I've written that's outside of mountains, then I will just ask some people to help me. So I've got people on Instagram, drummers that I talk to, and bass players, and this kind of thing. So I'll ask if they can help me do that kind of thing, and maybe I will put something together in that case. Right. The problem, I'm having trouble with the mic and stuff like that. I hope the sound's coming out clear enough. But the YouTube have changed all the live stuff since I did it last, and I'm completely lost to where I can't find if the mic I'm using is actually this one or the webcam up here, because the webcam sounds like crap, but this sounds decent. But the volume's so low, and I've got the gain up pretty high, so I'm thinking it's the webcam you're hearing. So I apologize if it sounds awful. Mm. Paul says he's got Yamaha RevStar. Yeah, I remember he got that from Busan, right? From Freebird. I was there with Ali a couple of weeks back, and he said you bought one. So, did you get one with P90s or with two humbuckers in it? All right. Born here says the volume is good now, so perhaps it is this mic. I'm not going to attempt the name, but he says I'm tapping on my bass whilst watching this. That's when I warm up or when I practice things that are quite mundane, I just throw on a podcast or a live Q&A kind of thing that I watch, from various channels that I watch, or because I like kind of longer form videos than over short ones, because they can't be. It's not necessarily I can't be bothered, but if it's a video is 5 minutes, then I got to change and watch something else whilst I'm practicing, right? So I'll just leave like a podcast on or something whilst I'm practicing or warming up. But I kind of tend to get too indulged in watching that and not actually end up practicing the things that I actually want to do. So not so good in the end. Steve has the gains up high. Usually don't. One thing with using impulse response, using virtual, sounding amplifiers and stuff, like you can't. It's really hard, I find, to get a good sounding, really overdriven sound, or into the distorted kind of tones. And there's a lot of channels, sorry, that are doing that kind of really the gent kind of metal sound and stuff, and they get it sounding really, really good. But whenever I try and do it with my stuff, it just sounds really farty. So I can't. So I just stick to staying in, that kind of clean slash, breaking up the amp kind of sound, which is what I like the best, if I'm honest, anyway. So. Ian Ernest, he says, "How are you? I'm doing fine, thank you very much." And he's currently learning Baba Date by standards. It's harder than I thought it was. Yeah, the whole thing about slowing it down and going, bar by bar is, yeah, that's quite important when it comes to stuff like that. Yeah, I was gonna say another band similar to Cover is definitely Standards. So yeah, check out Standards. Come out of nowhere, like 2018, I think Marcus started that one, and now they're playing Arctangent this year. And I can't believe the headliner is Coheed and Cambria. That's crazy. Like one of my favorite bands, but I'll be in Korea, so I won't be able to see that, of course. Fred has tapped the mic to find out. I was intrigued, but for they probably blow all your eardrums. So Age Lane says he's playing mountains riffs. Really? Oh, that's cool. What you playing? And Teen Crisis Music says Ghost City, maybe my favorite album of all time. It's definitely up there. Really, really good. And that, I guess you can see that poster because that one comes in the album case, and it's such a good album. And then this one is from at Action Park by Shellac. That's in that album case, and this wall is looking very bare. I'm using this for Instagram stuff. If you've been following me on Instagram, I stand in front of between these two acoustic foam strips, but I'm lacking posters. So because I'm in Korea, it's like, yeah, I want this poster, but then you look at the shipping, and you're like, oh, it costs more than the actual poster. So so I'm either waiting for my parents to come over, and then I'll buy something and send it to theirs, and they can bring it. Or when I'm back in England again, I'll pick some stuff up. But it's looking a bit bare for now. Hey, Born Hero is just did a super chat, if it's still called that, for $5. And I just want to say you're my first super chat, and I've done about 6 live streams. So thank you very much. That's really kind of you, and I really, really appreciate that. Thanks, dude. Now I'm getting my friends in this chat, and they're starting to troll me. So Lawrence Pamphilon is one of my really good friends, dear friend. He asked us Korea have 4 seasons. It's a bit of a joke for Westerners that I hear. So a lot of Korean people, when they're telling you about Korea, that's one thing they always say is Korea has 4 seasons, when Korea is like freezing cold in the winter, and then there's a brief spring for about 3 weeks or 2 weeks, and then it's really hot. And then you got autumn or fall, however you want to call it, and that's about same time, about 2 weeks. Leaves look really nice, and then everything's dead, and it's suddenly very cold. So yeah, not exactly a stretched out of 4 seasons. Then he asks, can you eat spicy food? Because that's another thing. Oh dear. Yeah. I was going to check if I missed anything back up here. Scrolling back up, there's only 19 of us here, so I can get through every question, I think. So Age Lane replying to Ian said he bought his tapping book, and I did a review of that book, and actually it's actually here. This one I printed it out because I can't be bothered to look at it on screen all the time. So, and look, I've been highlighting the the useful advice in here. So like this section on duality, which was, I said, the real secret is so when tapping with two hands is tricky. So the real secret is to completely master one part on one hand so that you can do it subconsciously. So I thought that was really good. So, practice the one part for the two-handed tapping, and then once you got that down, do this one. And that works well enough for me. But when you start to do polyrhythms, so for example, in this book, yeah, here we go. This is literally the section on polyrhythms. So I don't know how clear that's going to be, but basically this bit here is this right hand, your fretting hand is playing triplets, and then your strumming hand, and then your fretting hand here is playing in 16th notes here. And I can't do it. I can't do it. I've tried. Such slower and slower speeds, and like I'd be like triplet, and then 1E and 2E and 1E, 1E and 1E, 1E and and I'm trying to do triplets with this hand, and yeah, I can't do it. But if it's polyrhythms that don't involve triplets, then I can kind of do that. So, all right, let's have a look. Where are we? Mm-hmm. All right. Samuel William Novak, he says, I know little about math rock. I've become interested recently because I'm interested in additive rhythm and disjunct lines. Well, fundamental listening suggestions. Check out Hella. That's one for sure. That's that's basically what you just said there, and it epitomized as a band. Piglet is another one. The album Lava Land is really, really good. Terra Melos for sure. Check out say the Untitled album, and also Drugs to the Dear Youth is a really good one too. That's what really got me into it as well, if I'm honest. At first, was like the fact that I could start to take like like a 4/4 bar and displace where the accents are, go on the offbeat, but not like in a reggae or ska way, or funk kind of way. Just more like, if you think of bands like Enemies, and one I found recently as well, what were they called? Luna something. Should be a recently. Oh, this is killing me now. I can't find it. So because they're quite a small band, so I wanted to try and give them some help, at least if somebody goes and listens to them, because I think it's quite cool. Where are we? Damn. I can't find that, sorry. But yeah, that kind of, everything's syncopated, right? So that's basically a definition of math rock kind of rhythms, right? It's either our different time signatures, and also you'll find a lot of time that math rock can be in 4/4, is mostly in 4/4 actually, but the where the accents are placed at a syncopation, and that, if you want to get technical about it, that's called compound meters, where you take a time signature and you subdivide it into smaller meters. Forget his name now. Really big YouTuber. It's not Adam Neely. It's the other guy. I forget his name, but he did a video where he talks about like timing, was it like 19:8 or something like that, and then he talks about, you don't think of it as a bar of 19, you subdivide it into like like so many groupings of 3 and 2, like that. So the accent would be like 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 1 2 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 3 1 2 1 2, like that kind of thing. And you can do the same kind of thing in 4/4. I actually did a video on this a few months back, and I had really good fun making that one. So I'll index that again when I finish this video. But that one was really good. So if you had a bar of what was it, like 8/8 basically, so bar of 4/4. So you could subdivide that into like a count of like five. So like 1 2 3 4 5 1 2 3 1 2 1 2 3 4 5 1 2 3 1 2 5 6 7 8. Sorry, that's more than eight, isn't it? So three, was it 3 2 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8? Yeah, 3 2 and 3. So like 1 2 3 1 2 1 2 3, like that. So the accents are displaced to what you'd think you'd actually hear, right? What you expect to hear, like on beats like 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4. Sorry if this is incredibly boring, but I'm trying to give a lesson on different signatures and subdivisions of time signatures. But actually I have a lesson, script is written here, and we're going to be taking a look at 5/8 time signature. And I did do a little post about it on Instagram recently. All right, so back to the chat. Scroll down again. Oh well, Russian guy, I believe. I don't know, but he's given me 400 RUB, whatever that is. So I really appreciate that. Thank you very much. You are my second super chat of all time. So thank you very much. Oh, this is awesome. I'm gonna take a drink. So my mouth's getting very dry. Yeah, Teen Crisis to start with TTNG as well. Yeah, especially if like we check out the song Chinchilla. That's like, I have that tab book, here. Fantastic. Actually, this one, which is really good. You're talking about string gauges. Tim actually recommends. I don't know how clear that's going to be, but if you end up buying the book, you'll see he recommends, and that's going to be backwards, I guess, as well. But he recommends all the different string gauges to use for the different tunings to his songs, and it also has all the tunings for all of the songs on the Animals album as well. And by the way, the acoustics version of this album is really good, and I really wish I could have seen their 10-year anniversary tour. Let me know if you went to that, because it must have been really awesome. And he also shows you like where the capo placements are and the banjo one for some of the songs. It gets real geeky. It's awesome. Yeah, so like if you look at like Chinchilla, basically, it starts with a bar of 5/4 and 6/4 for that kind of thing. 5/4 3/4. So definitely a lot of but I think Sam's talking about, if it's talking about additive time signatures, it's where you have like a bar that doesn't divide equally. For example, if it's a bar of like 8/8, you could have a bar of like eight eighth notes, but then you could add 1/16th note on the end of it. So like what? So like 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 1 and like that basically. So you get this really odd kind of groove from that. And in the book I got a work I've been reading, it's got a whole section about additive time signatures. So that book is music notation by Gardner Reed, I believe it's called. So I'll index that again. It's a very old book from 1960 something, but it's really, really in detail, and it's a very good. The section on time signatures and meter, this kind of thing, it's interchangeable, but it's really incredibly useful, and like seeing where the accents are in certain time signatures and what all kind of things you can do. So, oh, sorry, rambling on again. Teen Crisis music. He's chiming in quite often. Thanks, dude. He says, I'm actually mad that you brought up Enemies, because I cry every time I think how we would ever get some new music from them. Yeah. But they left us with a really good album. Valuables is so good. And I didn't actually get into Enemies until I started Mountains because Ali's he went to university in England at Derby, I think he said, and there was a big music scene around there. So it was like what bands was like Crash of Rhinos and Enemies as well around there. So he's actually friends, I believe, with the bass player from Enemies. So uh, used to talk about them quite a lot, and then I discovered their first one. We've been talking, and that's in itself such a fantastic album. And then it was what's it, Embrace and Bark, whatever it's called. But that's also a really good record as well. And their EPs as well are really, really good. So if you haven't checked out Enemies before, really recommend checking them out. They're like masters of that syncopated kind of groove. The song Indian Summer, for example, if you just search for that, and it's a really cool music video as well. That one you instantly get that vibe, and it's really happy, very cool kind of groove to it. I love that. I love that band. Random loser. Oh, he's just jumped again. Sorry. That what? I hate when it does this. Where are we? Where are we? Where was that? All right, so still haven't figured out how to write Midwest emo riffs. So gotta keep trying. With that, you just I don't know. Because my influences, my biggest influences are when I was playing guitar. When I first started, it was bands like Foo Fighters and Nirvana and NoFX, those kind of bands, because that's what my best friend was into at the time. He was playing drums, and that's what he would play. And like, what was other bands as well? And then there's 100 Reasons as well, another really good band. And then I started getting into more like emo kind of styles of music, and I made a kind of pop punk slash emo band, and we were called Roadside Romance. Terrible name, I know. And we recorded a CD, and I'll try and find that because I haven't listened to it in years. But it's pretty bad. But you'll hear the influences that I had for guitar on that, and there are some Midwest emo sounds. And at that time, I was listening to the Get Up Kids and Braid, Frame and Canvas, a hell of a lot. And if you hear it, there's a lot of influences of those, and that's how I started to learn how to play and write, kind of Midwest kind of stuff. It's not necessarily from there, but all of that. But um, and I just learned their songs, and there wasn't really much tabs, but there was some little tabs, and then I could just start to work it out by ear. And there's not really that many kind of riffs, I'd say, that much in Midwest emo. It's more about the chords and the energy and like just the intensity of it. So I have loads of videos actually where about Midwest emo stuff and the chords that I used. So yeah, just check some of that out. So oh, this is fun. This is fun. Isn't 4/4 math rock called math pop or something? It could be. Well, if you think of a band like Color, if you haven't heard Color, it's a British math rock band from like 2008, and I think they finished 2000, so earlier than that. Sorry, and then they broke up in two. Well, they broke up the day Michael Jackson died because I went to their last show in Leicester at the Firebug. So whatever day that was the last Color show, and they played with a band called Blackfish, if you know them, and it was such a fun gig. And when Blackfish played, um, Alan from Color, Tangled Hair singer and guitarist, he played a couple of Blackfish songs with them. And then when Color played, when they were playing Over the Moon, if you know that song, Peckett, the guitarist from one of the guitarists, I should say, from Blackfish, he got on the drum kit and was doing the beat. So it was a really fantastic show, really good fun. A lot of memories of that one, good memories. So yeah. And Lawrence actually asked a serious question for once. How do you slash mountains approach songwriting? Do you have a particular process? It's a great question, and you're welcome for for answering answering your earlier questions. Um, with mountains, yeah, I would write something, and it would be fairly quite structured. It's not not necessarily that kind of wacky. And then I'd take it to practice, and then we'd always, dissect it and change things, because it's always good to get another person's ears on it, right? They hear what you wrote, and they think, I expect it to hear this, or maybe it could go that way, and they really, help bring out the best in the song. So Ali helps a lot with that. And we try different sections, and we record it, and we listen back to it, and we think, it could be better this way. With earlier Mountain stuff, it was like, take a song like Nothing New. There was so many sporadic changes, and that's what I like. I don't like repeating sections so much. If you listen to a lot of the stuff I write, it's, like, I like it to flow. I'm very much influenced by Meet Me in St. Louis in that regard. If you listen to variations on Swing, there's not really any repeating sections on that entire album, but you've got, really nice album there. So I just like writing parts that I like to think that flow together nicely. But on the latest release we did, Midnight EP, by Mountains. That one, I tried to make it a bit more structured and a bit more accessible, I'd say. We recorded that over a weekend, and yeah, everything was done in pretty much 4 hour periods. So, the drums were done, and then the bass was done afterwards. And then the second day, on the Sunday, I did guitars. I did it in one, pretty much one take on all of those as well, because we were pushed for time. And then later on, we found out they didn't sound very good. So actually, I recorded them again at home and sent them. And I did 2 recordings so you could pan them, left and right. So it sounded a bit thicker. And then we did the vocals. And again, that was very rushed. And they're not auto tuned. So what you're hearing is just me singing, like that. And it's not as good as it could be, but I'm happy with it as a product. It sounds, it sounds like it is. Basically, it was, like a cheaper job, and done over a weekend. So we practiced a lot, so it was tight enough that we could just do that. Joel, a lot of the drums you hear on that are just one take, and the same with the bass, and like I said, with the guitar, and the vocals took the longest. But again, yeah, maybe I would auto tune them a bit more, I guess. But and I'm not the best singer, so yeah. But I appreciate all the positive feedback we had about that. But I did get a lot of negative comments. Not negative, sorry. I shake criticism about the vocals. So yeah, on the previous, if you listen to the one before that, Tenses, that album, that one was recorded much more professionally, and also mixed by someone we paid quite a lot of money to do that one. And the vocals are also auto tuned and like all messed with, so it's more quantized, so more in the place where it should be as well. All right. Got some more questions to get through. I'm glad there's a few people. This is really good fun to have a chat. So, right, where were we? So we had Laz's question. Rick Beato. Rick Beato, I like to refer to as Shouty Man, because every video I watch, like, I always like his videos, but he's just like always shouting at the camera, I find. He's a super knowledgeable dude for sure. Fred20 asks, what are some of your favorite music related channels on YouTube? For me, actually, I'm quite geeky about guitar gear and stuff. So I watch the channel. I watch, probably my favorite one is That Pedal Show. That Pedal Show, sorry, I should say. And because they get, they're not just about here's the products and this is how it sounds like. They're educational, right? They show you how you could use certain pedals or certain ways of chaining pedals with certain amps and all of that kind of thing. It's much more elaborate than that. And I learned a lot from their channel. And they have a really good video recently on compressors. So if you're interested in compressors, yeah, check that video out. It's really, it'll give you some good insight. So for me, for example, I had the Warden compressor by by Earthquaker devices, and it's a really good compression pedal, but it just doesn't work well enough for what I my setup is. The whole digital one. It just boosts the signal too much, and it wasn't compressing like I wanted it to, like the Boss compressor I had before. So I can imagine that pedal would sound great if you were playing through an actual amp, but for me, I researched it a bit more, and it was the FET compressor kind of sound that I was going for, a much more kind of squashed sound. So I got the um, Nuix Sculpture, I think it's called. Yeah, compressor, because it's like, if you know JHS, they do the Whitey Tighty compressor, which looks fantastic. It's basically a clone of that, but at like half the price. But I think I'll get the JHS one eventually, because I've got kind of a little partnership with Nuix, as you've probably noticed. So they send me some pedals and stuff to demo. So I thought I'd actually probably, be nice and buy something from them for once. So I bought that compressor from them. uh, all right. Yeah, Born Hero says, yeah, arpeggios over chords. Yeah, that's a lot of my stuff basically. I do chords, and I'm not really thinking in arpeggios. I'm just using my ear. Like if I'm playing a major chord, I know this works with it. If I'm playing a minor chord, I know where the flat third is. And if I'm doing, sometimes I use like a minor 7 flat 5 chord, and that adds like a lot of tension and sudden release. And I know the arpeggio for that, of course, is going to be flat third and a flat fifth in that case. Mm. Ian Ernest has got a good question. He said, "Would you consider Algernon Cadwallader? I think that's how you say it. Maffy or emo? I think they fit in that in between kind of range, right? Like tiny moving parts do a lot of the time. It's tiny moving parts has gone quite pop recently, but their older stuff, especially, is like that emo with slash math. To be fair, that's the stuff that I like most. I do like full on mathy stuff, especially the early days stuff. But I find myself listening to emo tinged math rock. That comes out of my music. Like I said, my influences are, like all these older kind of emo style bands, and like I'm a big fan of Coheed and Cambria, and that comes out sometimes in my playing, and I learned a lot of their songs back in the day, and like singing style I've always been influenced by Bob, is it Bob Bob Nana, I can't remember, from Braid, and who is it from the Get Up Kids, Matt Pryor, I think it is. Yeah, that's an influence of mine as well. So, but like lyrical wise, I get so much inspiration from listening to La Dispute, if you haven't heard of them before, and really, what's his name? Is Jordan Dreyer, I think it is, the lyricist and singer. Like he's got some really moving lyrics, and he tells stories with his songs, and their songs, I should say. If you haven't heard of La Dispute before, check out the album Wildlife, and that one is like the theme of it is all about like death and dealing with death. But I know it's quite a morbid subject, but there's some really moving songs, and the way they use tension and release in their songs is just beautiful. Like he has got one of those emo kind of voices. And I got attracted to him because I like older kind of Alex is on fire, or Elix is on fire, however you say it. So that's what got me interested in them. Well, what hooked me straight away, I should say. Yeah, Teen Crisis says, yeah, about is giving advice to another person called Random Loser. He says just looking at like other, looking at this case, looking at riffs from tiny moving parts, and then just reverse engineering them into his songs. But you can learn a lot about how to play guitar and how others play guitar. Yeah, just by learning learning their music and learning their songs. And that's the way I started playing guitar. And I think that's pretty much the way most people start playing guitar, right? It's like, you like a song so much that you want to be able to play it. And for me, like I said, I started with like, it was Foo Fighters, and I remember learning like songs from The Color and The Shape, and then it was like One by One, and I was always fascinated with the riff from Come Back, I think it is the last song on that album. It sounds really cool, and like learning Nirvana stuff, and yeah, I just work stuff out that way, and you get such a good insight into how others play guitar, and also if you're blessed enough to have friends who play guitar or other instruments around you, you really pick up things from them as well. Like my best friend, he's really talented at guitar, and he picks up stuff really quickly, and he can hear stuff and tap it out very quickly. And I remember like he'd just sit in his room and play guitar all the time, and practice songs. And like I went round his place one time, and like he was just like playing um what's the album called, Doppelganger by the Fall of Troy. He'd just been learning all of that album basically, like, and play it back to front, and it was like, yeah, mind blowing to see at that time. So had this Marshall MG 100 stack with an Ibanez S series guitar, like. uh, Paul asks, what's the difference between 4/4 and 8/4? Well, there's a couple of things. 4/4 is it's just the note on the meter count there. So if it's 4/4, then it's four what's it, quarter notes. I mean, because I use British terminology, which is a crotchet. So I believe that's a quarter note. Yes, this is obviously a fourth, isn't it? So that if the metronome's set at like whatever tempo, it's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. How the bars are divided. So when because there's always an accent on the one basically, and then in 8/4. Oh, sorry, I read that as 8/8. Sorry, so 8/4 basically just you got double that. So the accents are just going to be in different places as well. But you got to remember there's common accents like in 5/8, for example, you could do like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like that. Or you could do 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Like a drum would accent those, or the guitar could, but you don't have to. They're just common accent patterns within a particular time signature. So, yeah. All right. I was going to ask as well, what are your favorite some of your favorite YouTube like related or music or guitar related channels? Because I'm on YouTube all the time, so I like to discover new things, and I'll find a random video sometimes, and I just get hooked on that person's channel, and I end up watching all their stuff all the time. So Dalhaco says it's like $8. So wow, thank you very much. Hello from Hong Kong. Hello. I guess it's the same time zone as Korea, so I guess it's 11 o'clock at night there now. All right. Sorry, I'm just getting back into the chat. Right, because when it gets down to the bottom on my screen, it just jumps again. So where were we? There we go. Sorry. Okay. Uh, Piccolo asks, "What my take on the Fender Player series is?" I've not actually tried them or anything like that, but the Fender Player, is that the Mexican-made replacement series? I've had a Mexican-made Stratocaster in the past, and it was a fantastic instrument. So if it's anything like that, then yeah, it's going to be good. Professional is the replace the sorry, yeah, American Professional replace the Standard. Player replace the American Special Series. Am I thinking? Oh yeah. Okay, off the top of my head, I can't remember. The guy who did the tip says it doesn't convert it into your currency. I think it does later when I check after this. Yeah, there you go, Gustavo. You are too beautiful. You're too kind. Limo Gibbon. Yeah, I think I'm terrible with track names, but Baboon's really good as well. And you know when the album halfway through, the Animals album, so I should say I'm talking about, it becomes a bit more low key, right? He switches to those fingy sticks, you know, the ones with all the like little sticks together. So it's got that kind of nice little punchy sound to it, and I like that part of the album too. That's really good. All right. Pablo Vega, I guess it is. When you play riffs, do you always think? Are you always play thinking about the chord tones of your harmony? I do and I don't. If I'm singing, then I really do think about what notes I'm singing over a particular chord, because a lot of the time, especially in like popular music, you know, you're going to be singing the first, the third, the fifth, and the fourth is used quite a lot as well, actually, these days. But um, if I'm singing, I look at the chord I'm playing, and if I'm missing out a particular note, then perhaps I try and select that note so I'm not doubling up. And you know, this is something like, you know, Kurt Cobain does really well. Like I think Rick Beato, he did a really good, you know, what makes the song great, and he'll talk about that. You know, like Kurt Cobain would just play like a power chord, and it's missing the third note in that chord, right? It's just a one and a five. If you're following along, and he would sing the third, so he's completing the chord there, so either a major or a minor chord, depending on if it was a regular third or a flat third. And I thought that was kind of cool. But the thing is, I play a lot of extended chords, so I'm like covering, you know, one, three, five, and a seven. But if I'm playing a ninth, a nine chord, for example, a lot of the time I'm not playing the fifth. That's one you can miss out quite relatively easy, and you're not missing anything from the chord. The third's quite important to have there. But in that case, I'll sing the fifth over the top of that, so I'm not like just doubling up a note that's already in that chord, if you get me. And then I think about, you got to think about the melody direction as well, right? So you could just stick on the same note over the chord, or you can ascend it, or you can descend that that melody line. So there's it's a lot of complications, but you know, no good overthinking it. You know, just find a note that sounds good over that chord, and then just go from there. Your ears will start to work for you, and you think, well, that sounds good. That doesn't sound so good. And if you're really lost, then you know, record it and show it to a friend and say like, how's this part sound? And if they're a good friend, they're going to be honest, right? They're going to say like, oh, you know, this bit could sound a bit better, or yeah, that sounds great, you know. So those kind of things. Fruffy, fruffy bum squeeze. Wow. um he says TTNG adventure, stamina, and anger has really cool tapping. That has impossible tapping, more like. You should change that too. If you watch the audio tree session of that, I'm just blown away every time I see Tim tap that one. And one of the comments that made me laugh on that video was like, when you that it sounds like there's you're trying to play like as if there's six people in the band with three people. That's what it definitely sounds like in that chorus. um we say what we got. 10-4, mate. Thanks for the advice. No problem. Why is 26 is dancier than 4 easier than if I stay, was it if I still I know which song you mean. I can't remember it. 26 dancier is dancier than 4. Yeah, I haven't played it in quite some time, but I remember there was that one part where you have to like hammer on really quickly with your fingers, and I found that part very difficult at first. uh yeah, so Sam here is just basically summed up what I said in one sentence about the difference between 4-4 and 8-4. Oh, thanks. Small town music. Yeah, he's just listened to Tide Edit or Tom's Story. Yeah, Tom's Story is, yeah, that's one I got into recently. They're really tight. I like Battles. Not so much. They're like kind of commercial songs that got particularly famous, but I'm definitely more of a fan of Don Caballero than Battles, if I'm honest. Like, what whatever burns may never return. Whatever it's there. Terrible with um album titles when they're long like that. An American Don, two fantastic albums by Don Caballero. Found them through um Michaz Music asks, "What's my favorite math rock group?" That question is always very difficult because that would change, you know, from month to month, because or whatever mood I'm in. But like bands I tend to go back to the most is going to be Toe, Delta Sleep. I listen to a lot. Terra Melos for sure. I got the I haven't got Spotify because you can't get Spotify in Korea. I've got a streaming service called Deezer, and it doesn't have everything on it, unfortunately. But they're the albums I find myself floating between the most for math rock anyway. Like I do listen to quite a lot of other bands and in different genres and stuff like that. So everyone's helping out Paul. He's having a good time. My friend Paul, he's quite he's really Paul's fantastic drummer, really fantastic drummer. He's in a band. Well, he's been in a few bands. He lives in South Korea too, and there's what projects did you check out? Machines is definitely one of them. It's like a punk band, and I think they're on Spotify. So if you search for Machines, Paul will tell you the album names because I forgot about them. But they just wrote like 30-second kind of punk songs, really hardcore. And I got a really cool music video online as well, where they were like the start of the song is the drummer playing. So Paul's playing, the drum. Sorry, no, I think it's just Paul's always on the drums, and then Ali from my band was in that band as well. So he's playing the bass and the guitar, and he's doing all the singing parts. And then like one verse cuts, and then the next one starts, and then it's the guitarist doing the bass and the guitar and singing both parts as well. So it's really cool music video. Again, when I index this, I'll put that down below. So, all right, I'm gonna have to get going soon. Maybe another 10 minutes. Let's do an hour and a half. But this is good fun. But I do need to go to bed, and I need to index this and go to work tomorrow. So. Teen Crisis Music, this color just became Tangled Hair, didn't they? Kind of. Because color was Alan, who's in Tangled Hair now, and James Trude, I think it is, on drums. And they're both in Tangled Hair. Their bass player is different, and they had another guitarist as well in color. So uh, similar vibes to Color, less poppy, a bit more serious and a bit more like kind of emo kind of influences. But I really like both bands. So Frothy Bum Squeeze is here again, and he says, "Any recommendations on a clean, spanky amp for math rock, like anything combo for small gigging?" I did a video on 3 steps to getting awesome tones, as I called it. But yeah, for that kind of thing, it's just Fender style amps. Fender style amps all the way. But if you want it clean and spanky kind of tone, I'm thinking like either a small combo valve amp, like cranked, or you need a bigger one with just valves, and it'll sound good as well. But like you can't always get that kind of tone from a solid state, or a digital would do a better job of recreating that, but it just doesn't have that same feel to it in my experience. But I think if you're looking to get a Fender amp, but you don't want to spend too much money that has valves, you could try out. I think the the Bass Breaker series they did recently is quite reasonably priced, and below that is they have the Super Champ series, which is a hybrid, so it's tube and digital. And I've played one of those, and I really enjoyed that amp. And if I got an amp, if I could play it at home, it would be a Fender style amp. And also, I really want the Roland Jazz Chorus JC22, which is the really small version of the JC amp, and I think that one has a really cool tone. But that's a solid state amp, so yeah. If anybody else, sorry, has any recommendations on that kind of thing, it's been a few years since I owned like a, well, it's been many years since I owned a nice amp. So if I play gigs in South Korea, they always have backline at every venue, so I just use what's there, and it's always like it's either a Fender Champion 100, so the big one, or a Marshall, MG amp, solid state one. So they don't sound all that great, but I just appreciate it because I don't have to take my own amp to go and play a show. So, all right, chat's jumped again. I'm sorry, I'm missing questions here. I apologize for that if I am. I was going to say as well, let me know if you want me to do this as a regular thing, like once a month or whatever, QA session. I do enjoy this kind of thing, but I don't want to really, overdo it. A lot of the channels that I watch do it once a week, but I don't think I can do that. Ernest, again, speaking of pedals, what kind of overdrive distortion do you use? I've got them on here at the moment, but had a little change again. Jesus, this thing's heavy. This one is, sorry, the light's so bright on all of this, and it is and the Earthquaker devices. MXR Custom Shop Il Torino Overdrive is really good, but I use mostly this these days. The brightest pedal in the world, apparently. The Arrows preamp booster, because this will just boost the clean amp into like natural overdrive. So, and with a compression pedal as well. Like, oh. Man, that's heavy. And of course, I got lovely Telecaster. 6 months sleep. Steve, my man, love from Ireland. Well, that's lovely. Middle of the day there, I guess, at this time, right? I guess the heat waves just got there as well. My mom keeps telling me it's going to be really hot. So, yes, how do I keep coming up with new ideas for videos? That's a good question, I guess. Wow, I just usually pick a particular subject I think that would be quite interesting, and I already have a bit of knowledge about, and I make that. I tend to find that the videos that I spend the longest on and the like about a complex kind of subjects tend to get the least interest, and they take me the longest to make. But if I make something just about like chords and stuff, and then it makes me realize that a lot of people are just looking for something they can take away and use fairly easily without having to go into it into too much detail or think about it too much. So these days I'm just trying to like take a more complex subject and like simplify it so it's easy to follow and you can take something away from it. Like the video that I'll have hopefully by next Thursday is the 5/8 one. I need to film it, but I've written out the scripts and everything I'm going to do for it, and I've made the examples, and I've just gone really kind of really beginner kind of vibes with it and made it quite accessible for everybody to watch. So even if like you already quite adept at playing guitar, you might be able to learn something new from it, hopefully. So that's my kind of thought process these days for the videos that I'm making. So mm. Talking about acoustic math rock, I like the song I'll forget about you throwing that rock because that dance was kind of funny by TTNG. That's one of the first ones I learned, and that's a really hard song to play when it gets to the final section of it. I did a cover of it that you'll find on my channel. It's like one of the first videos I ever made actually for this channel. And like you says, check out the Yvette Young acoustic albums as well. There's some really good stuff on that as well. Yeah, Pickleball. It's just Trevor Wong is really good for this kind of stuff. He's got really good videos that like I learn stuff from them, and he goes quite in depth into the subject. But I think he hasn't kind of figured out what I figured out. Is just like is sometimes it's just too much in a video. Just try to do less in a video, and separate it into multiple videos instead of trying to put like this many examples of something into just one video. And it's not an easy gig, of course. I'm still learning, and I'm not exactly the best teacher, so but I'm having fun doing it. And yeah, I hope his channel grows. If you haven't checked out Trevor Wong, he's another like math rock kind of emo styles of tutorial kind of channel as well. So go and check him out if you haven't, and give him some love. K Mac, yeah, Kamak is the man. His videos are hilarious. Like, yeah, yeah. I watched his video. All his videos as well are always very interesting. Yeah. Squire Jazzmaster Elephant asks for. He asks, "What do you think of Squire Jazzmasters for math rock?" I don't think there's a particular guitar that kind of fits math rock. If you want to define your style on that guitar, go for that guitar. It's just advice I'd give to you is just find the guitar that's comfortable for you, that you like. If you go into a music store and you pick up 5 guitars, you're going to start to notice, right? Like, well, I preferred that guitar because the neck felt nicer on that guitar, or I preferred that guitar because the pickup sounded better on that guitar. So just think of these kind of things, and don't buy something because somebody else says you should get that. Like, case in point, like I did about Telecaster, but I also said find the guitar that works for you. So you don't get thinking because this certain artist, like Chan used an Ibanez, so I need to get an Ibanez. So like actually go and try one out before you just buy one and get it shipped to your house, and then you end up not liking it because you didn't like a thin neck, or you didn't like a wider neck profile, or these kind of things, or you don't like the really poppy sound you get in the middle pickup position on an Ibanez, for example. So yeah, I'm not slating on Ibanez here, just giving an example, like because I genuinely like Ibanez. So yeah, just I've done that in the past where I've bought guitars online and then they get here and then not. I had everything in my mind like what this guitar was going to be like, but it didn't turn out to be anything like that. Hey, Trevor Wong is a Canadian boy. He is indeed. He is indeed. Uh, you should check out Fake Dr. Levy. He has a great video. Has great videos on polyrhythms and odd time signatures. All right, well, I'll index that. I want to write that down. Let's get rid of that. Fake Dr. Levy. Thanks. Ben Levin. I've heard that name before, actually. That's a good channel. Chris YT Swag says, please make more videos about TTNG. Yeah, I should do. I've been meaning to do another, play like such and such video, but if you ever saw like the posts I did, like in the process of that, I had to the TTNG one wasn't so bad because I had the tabs already, but I had to go through an entire album of music, look where the similarities are, and try and find out where similarities in like sections of songs. It's not necessarily like a verse, chorus, is it? So like in this particular section of a song, Tim will particularly play this way. Not always, but some is quite a common thing to do. And then in this section of the song, Tim will tend to do this kind of thing. And the way the music flows up and down, picking up and down the strings. I had to work this kind of thing out, and then I had to work out what, from looking at the notes Tim was playing in his parts, like what chords these outlines, and then I could apply that to a key. Also, Tim on this album particularly uses like very common chords in a key of like 1, 4, and 5, and 6 of the minor there. So these kind of things, and I did that again for Yvette Young. I don't know if I say her name right. I always get laughed at when I do. So, um, yeah, I did the same thing for her again. It was quite a similar thing to Tim, surprisingly. But I couldn't play her parts at full speed. I remember that, so I did it like at 75% tempo, I think. But yeah, those videos there, what I'm getting at, sorry, is they take a lot of research and a lot of time to put into them. I spent a month and a half easily on both, on one of those videos. So, but I keep meaning to do one on Toe because that's a band I really like. But yeah, I don't know if I can do it justice, but we'll see. Paul says, thanks for the shout out. People can search Machines SK and Bandcamp if they're interested. SK for South Korea. I'm out of here, Steve. All right, see you, Teen Crisis Music. Thanks for joining. And yeah. Yeah, I know Joy Cho, but I've not really listened to their stuff, and he's just a phenomenal guitarist, like out of this world, crazy good. So yeah, I need to check out more of their stuff for sure. All right, let's do a few more questions, and I gotta get going. Paul Johnson put the official rankings of top 3 names in the chat are Anus Repairman. I totally agree with that. Teen Crisis Music, Random Loser. I don't know that. What's his name again? I forget his name. If he's still here, seems like a cool dude. I'm going all the way back up now to find it. I can't find him now. Frothy bum squeeze. I'd say that's got to be. It's got to be first or second. You put bum freeze. Yeah, it's what about bum freeze? Yeah, I know Tide Edit. They're good. Yeah, I can't say his name, but Anus Repairman is in every YouTube circle. He's everywhere, like I said. Chris asks, what happened with the Squire Affinity? It's gone nowhere. It's right here still in FACGCE tuning. So I'm still messing around with that and having a lot of fun with that. Sergoi Gusa, I probably getting that wrong again. Sorry. Says you should check out the band I Kill Giants. Yeah, I really like the one album where every song's like a minute long. It's full of quite like comedy kind of style songs, but it's really really good. Yeah, that one. What's your opinion on Hella, a Deep Girl asks? That kind of music, I appreciate seeing it more live. Like I like watching every live performance that there's not much of it, but on YouTube I really enjoy that. But listening to it, not so much. Same thing goes with me with for the band like Chun. Like Chun, I like watching anything they do, like live performance on YouTube, because it just blows me away how tight they are and how clean everything sounds. But listening to their records, I don't really get that same kind of vibe. So the it's just me, I guess. So he says my name is pronounced like new metal and Rael, right? So Nurail, Yosef, Real, Riel, Rialov, Rial, Rafalov, Riafalov, Riafalov. Did I get that right? And sorry, I'm terrible with that. Joshua Weatherston, he says, I went to Korea last year to watch the Paralympics. Was that for the winter one? Not at all, Bug. I'm sorry, dude. I'm really sorry. uh, you should see me trying to remember my students' names in Korean. I get that wrong a lot of the time. Trash Panda says his Squire Affinity is also still in FACGCE. Yeah. It's a really good guitar. I'm like I said in the video I made about it. I'm really surprised at the quality. I prefer it over the standard Squire, if I'm honest, but it's not better than in my opinion, than the classic vibe. But I didn't have enough spare money to get the classic vibe. So yeah, Chris, I sold the SG anniversary to buy the Telecaster, but like, don't get me wrong, it's not like I didn't like that guitar. It is really well built for the price point it's at. Like, if you when I opened the back plate on it, it's all like switchcraft stuff, like really well wired together. It's really professionally done. Like, so Joseph is Joseph is in English. I see. Yeah. All right. See you, small town music. It's good. Thanks for joining, and yeah, thanks for seeing. Good to see you again. 6 months sleep asks, "What do you teach in Korea?" That's cool. I teach EFL, so it's English as a foreign language, at two elementary schools, I should say. It's through a government-run program called EPIK, which is English Program in Korea. So if you type EPIK into Google, you'll find the program. So if you're interested in looking for a job in Korea to do that kind of thing, you just need a degree pretty much in anything, or anything, and like a TEFL certificate. So you have to do like a teaching English as a foreign language course to do that kind of thing. But yeah, I'm having good fun with it. It's a good job. Yeah, the SG had 24 frets. Yeah. uh, okay. I need to go. We've been here for an hour and 37 minutes and 48 seconds apparently. So, but I really appreciate everyone that joined today. I've had a lot of good fun, and please drop me a comment if you'd like me to do another one of these again soon, because this was good fun having a chat, and I feel a bit more less. I feel more confident about doing it now than I used to in the past. So that's always works. So yeah. So like I said, there's a discount code for the merchandise over on my merchandise page, which is through Teespring. And that code is, what was it again? It was live stream, all one word in uppercase. And the words down in the description. And I'll leave that up for a couple of days. So if you want to take advantage of that. So that kind of thing is probably, like, it gives me the best kind of income, and you can have something in return for it as well. So, and if you're interested, I do have a Patreon page as well, but there's not a link down below for that, but I'll put one in soon. So as always, yeah, thank you for joining, and I will have a video for you hopefully next week. I just got to film it and then obviously do all the editing and stuff, but I think you really like this one, especially about our time signatures. So, all right, yeah, thanks everyone. Have a good day and good night if you're in this part of the world, and I'll see you again soon. Goodbye.